I just don't get it. What is with propaganda?
Propaganda, you say?
Who are you?
Why, the ghost of propaganda past, of course.
Oh, actually, that's perfect. Do you think you could help me on this assignment with propaganda?
Sure.
Propaganda is information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Nah, you don't know nothing yet. I will teach you propaganda used by this great nation of United States of A over the course of its recent history.
But wait, isn't the US a free country?
Yes, but that doesn't mean there weren't democratically elected leaders who tried to manipulate public opinion for their own self-interest. So you want a propaganda? Well then how about let's take a propaganda?
What did you do?
I brought you to the 1910s.
The 1910s?
Yes, that's what I said. Now clean out your ears. We're here to look at propaganda from World War I.
Wait. World War I, is there another World War?
Meet President Woodrow Wilson.
His great plan to sway public opinion in order to increase support for the war is through fear-mongering of invasion and shaming individuals for not rationing goods and buying war bonds for the soldiers.
But wait, why does the US have to be worried about a war in the other hemisphere?
Because you never know when the Hun strikes.
The Americans will be destroyed by the Kaiser.
So to get the people fired up for the war, he used propaganda posters and painted the Germans as barbaric murderers, rapists, and looters.
That seems like a whole lot of work for just one guy.
Well, you see, it wasn't just one guy.
Wilson created the Committee on Public Information, the CPI, to handle all things related to propaganda and public information.
Well, what did all this propaganda do?
The effect of government propaganda during this time was enormous.
American patriots began harassing pacifists, socialists, and German immigrants mercilessly. They used mob beatings, public humiliation, burning of pacifist churches, and nighttime killings in order to enact a sort of vigilante justice against perceived traitors to the war effort.
But Ghost of Propaganda Past, wasn't intervening in World War I a good decision by the US?
Yeah, sort of. But propaganda is still propaganda. But here, let me show you a more egregious example of US propaganda.
Where are we now?
Here, let me show you.
Why, the great 1950s, of course. This is the peak of Americana.
This is President Dwight D. Eisenhower, an overall good president, but oversaw a lot of propaganda during his terms.
You see, the Soviet Union now has nuclear weapons. Communism is spreading greatly across Asia and Eastern Europe. We have to ensure that our American values will not be eradicated by the Red Army.
The USSR posed an incredible threat against the US as a totalitarian communist global superpower. The Soviets were America's first direct enemy, a force that could be unified in hatred against. So unsurprisingly, there are politicians like Senator Joseph McCarthy who took advantage of the public's paranoia by feeding into fears of communist subversion from within America.
Why, you can never know if someone you trust is a commie.
Hello, Americans. How would you like to hear bad things about your country that will turn you communist?
That is not a convincing pitch in the slightest.
Congratulations, Elise. You got propaganda.
The Red Scare was really all about dismissing political activism for change by branding it as un-American, and letting the public's paranoias force individuals into social conformity. Anything that would dare call out the actions of the government was labeled as communist, thus allowing the government to never be held accountable. Joseph McCarthy would ultimately fall from power by going too far with his ravings about communists in the government. After the suicide of Wyoming Senator Lester C. Hunt, a man McCarthy constantly harassed, and after McCarthy was censured, Joseph McCarthy's political career was killed. But his attitudes definitely weren't.
Jeez, the 1950s were a scary time.
But you'd never guess that by the entertainment industry.
The 1950s was a time of strong government regulation in the entertainment industry. The government used the entertainment industry to try to dictate the perfect social life for the American citizen. They viewed life as a group of systems and mechanics, which emphasized the most efficient mechanics to the best quality of life. It's not about who you are or what you say, it's about how you function within the system. Successful tasks, like marriage for example, derive derives from a set of codes. Take abstract concepts like emotions and funnel them into scientific terms like stimulus and subject. They treat gray area subjects as black and white. 1950s propaganda went as far as to try to forego the beliefs of individuality and liberty.
Holy crap, that is downright disgusting. Why did Americans want so badly to suppress individuality? Isn't our whole thing about being the land of the free?
The Cold War made America too scared of its own image. It wanted to counteract the Soviets by making the American lifestyle look perfect. But perfect's a subjective ideal, and meddling with it can destroy any semblance of individuality.
Am I supposed to say something to that?
Time to go to the 80s! Yo, yo, yo! It's Elise in the house!
What you doing there?
It's the 1980s, time of government deregulation that basically gave private businesses a blank check to do whatever they want, which was widen the wealth gap. That's for another day.
Wait, there was government propaganda in the 80s too?
Hey kid, want some of these bad boys?
No thanks, sir.
Why not? All the cool kids are doing it. Are you chicken?
Hey, stop right there, you pesky druggy scum!
We'll meet again, Ronnie!
Who the heck are you this time?
Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States and leading star of Bedtime for Bonzo. Now I'm here to warn you about the dangers of marijuana and other substances. I know you think it's cool to smoke the reefer, ride the LSD wave, and do the booger sugar. But listen here, punk, if I catch you doing anything, I will send you to jail forever and send you to the fiery depths of hell!
Alright, shut up.
Wasn't that annoying? See, that was life in the 80s.
A never-ending slew of cheesily outdated public service announcements commissioned by the US government in partnership with non-profit organizations and ad companies. Many range from desperately trying to relate to children to downright horrific content.
And you want to know the best part?
What?
They didn't work at all. Drug rates didn't really change that much during the 80s, and in fact improved slightly thanks to anti-drug campaigns.
Well, I mean, that drug person and Ronald Reagan were annoying, but they didn't convince me to do drugs.
But you don't speak for the rest of the community in the 80s, now do you?
Anti-drug ads comically over-villainize drug leaders, making them look more like Ninja Turtle villains than actual genuine threats. The ads reaffirmed a monotonous theme that drugs shouldn't be used because your authorities said so, and that was it. The campaign also subconsciously instilled the idea that doing drugs was a mainstream thing that cool kids did. The obvious reality is very few people take drugs, but you couldn't guess that from these campaigns. It also doesn't help that they inform people on how the drugs work and what uses could be served by using them. It was a failed campaign, but the legacy is not a proud one of American history. Due to the war on drugs, the amount of people incarcerated doubled from 316,000 to 740,000 in 1 decade, and there have been many racial implications regarding drug arrests. Despite the fact that black and white people are statistically just as likely to use drugs, black people are 6 times more likely to be arrested for drug use and are often faced with harsher sentences. These people would then face ostracization from job opportunities and in most states would lose the right to vote for an addiction to drugs that more often than not can't be blamed on the individual. The US sought to go to war against drugs, but in its path destroyed countless black and Hispanic communities. And after all that, the war was lost.
Man, the past was just horrible, wasn't it?
The past? I hate to break it to you, but propaganda hasn't really died out since then.
What's that supposed to mean? Where are we now?
I'm surprised you couldn't even recognize your own school. And now we're going to talk about modern propaganda.
No.
Well, too bad.
The current state of propaganda has been very negatively affected by easier access to the media. Propaganda cannot survive criticism, which is harder to suppress under the freedom of the internet. But the internet allows individuals to become their very own propaganda machines.
Check out this meme, Elise.
That's kind of lame.
Lame, but effective propaganda.
Like leaflets dropped from airplanes during past wars, political memes represent a new era of propaganda targeted at those on the internet. Generally, this is the youth. The idea of memes as a type of idea dissemination isn't limited since they span across many different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter being some of the most widely used social media platforms globally. Many people have access to this content at any time of the day. In addition, anybody with a smartphone or computer has the ability to make a meme with their own ideas on it.
Gosh, I never want to learn about this stuff again.
Well, good news. You don't have to.
The curriculum regarding government propaganda in the US has been deemed as anti-American teachings by the 1776 Commission. This commission, created by President Trump, was built on the idea of rewriting history for a more patriotic view of the past. On top of that, many of the things included in the report tried to rationalize racism in history.
The 1776 Commission died a few hours after Joe Biden became president. But who's to say that it won't be implemented in some form by a state government or future administration?
Wow, thanks, Ghost of Propaganda Past.
You're welcome. Always here to teach the kids about propaganda. Now wake up.
Elise, time to get up. Welcome to class. You've been sleeping.
Sorry.